Hello everyone, it's Rick Passek, the FlyFish Fanatic, and welcome to my tying bench. Today, a fun little updated version of the Epoxy Minnow. This is one I've been tying for decades and decades, probably 25, 30 years now, is the Epoxy Minnow. But you always had to have the turner and all that, which was fine. I mean, you'd sit down and you'd do 20 or 30 of them, and you just throw them on your turner and on your dryer. That was that. But now with UV resins over the last 10 or 12 years, it's changed the whole way we do it. And this is just a little bit of an updated, something in my eye, sorry, updated version of the Epoxy Minnow, just using some mallard flank. I tie them in several different colors. This is probably my most effective. So really, really good for cutthroat trout. Really good for rainbows in the rivers as well, but this is definitely geared towards going after cutties. So, alrighty, let's get tying. So in the vise today, we will be using a Ahrex FW580, that way, 580, size 6. Tie these in a 6 and an 8, and even in a 10, depending on the size I want to tie, right? I will be using for the tail some hard mallard flank, natural, or I like using the wood duck as well, but natural is my go-to. For the rib, I'm going to be using some Semperfli 0.2 mil red wire. And for the eyes, for the body, I'll be using some Semperfli mirror tinsel, just straight silver. And you can use hollow silver as well. And then for the eyes, I'm going to be using some of the Living Eyes Wind, Fish Skull Living Eyes Wind, 4 mil. And then I'm going to be using some Semperfli resin, UV resin, to coat the whole thing. Sorry, the eyes just fell off the card, a couple of them, so I'm just picking them off before they're darn things are like gold, right? So, okay, so, and for the thread, I'm going to be using some straight white NanoSilk. So, if you've subscribed to the channel, thank you very much. If you haven't, please consider doing so. Getting the channel to grow and getting more people to see it is great. If you guys share it, it's even better. If you guys comment, that's awesome. The more you guys comment on actual videos, not on the Facebook posts, but on the videos themselves, it's excellent because it really helps grow the channel. So, but enough advertising. Let's just tie a fly. Of course, I got my... Been tying so many big flies lately that for a tropical that I got crap everywhere. So, but, all right. So now I'm just going to take my mallard flank. I'm going to get rid of this fluff. Not that it matters because it's just for me. It's in the way. So now I'm just going to take it and bring this to 90 degrees. Okay, and then just kind of grab it all. I want a decent portion, but the reason I'm bringing it to 90 degrees is because I want the tips to line up to a certain degree, and then you see how they're not going to obviously come off the same, but if I've pinched it really well, those tips should stay, right? So, I'm just going to take this, and I'm going to measure about the length of the body, give or take, past, so about there is where I want it. And I go to about the hook point, maybe a little bit past. Just make sure it stays up on top. That looks about good. And then I'm just going to open wraps, just wind this stuff all the way forward here. And then I'll nip that off. Flatten my thread a bit. Hopefully you guys don't hear all the noise in the background. We'll see how this video turns out. At the place we're staying at in Puerto Vallarta here, we're out in right in the residential area, and they're building a house next door, and yeah, I can hear chainsaws and stuff like that going, plus dogs are barking and right? So it's a little noisy. Hopefully the mic will separate that out, but we'll see. So back to the front, red wire. Just catch that in somewhere near the front. Keep it along the side. Doesn't really matter, but keep it along whatever side, top, it doesn't matter where, but just keep it along the same side. Don't let it wrap. Now take some of this mirror tinsel. Just tie this in. Come right back. Just make sure it's tied in well. Stop near the front. And then just in touching wraps, maybe slightly overlapped, but just bring this all the way forward. Actually, I don't think that's a chainsaw. I think that's a weed whacker and a lawnmower. So like hardly next to no grass here. So I know the neighbors have some grass in their backyard, but just a tiny little patch for their dogs to do their thing. Okay, now I'm going to take that wire and wrap it counterclockwise. Now you can make these quite a bit smaller. This is going to be a fairly large one. This is the largest I'd tie. I never go any bigger than this. I'll show you another one in a minute here. A smaller size one is probably the size I tie. I fish the most, but I always like having some of these larger ones with, just in case. But there, right? So now I'm just going to come back here and just come back a little bit further here and build up a bit of a head, if you want to call it that. And just trying to make it a little bit more even for the head. And then come back again, and I'll whip finish right there. And the tying portion is done. Now it's the finishing portion. The eyes and the epoxy and the UV resin. Okay, so now I take some of those living eyes. If I can get it back off the card. They fall off the card, and now they don't want to. They don't want to stay on the card. Come off the card. Typical, right? So Semperfli, UV resin. I'm just. This stuff is really good. It's a little thicker than a lot of the brands. I found down here, it's not bad actually, because it's a bit warmer, so it's keeping it a little thinner. So I don't worry too much if I've got a little bit too much on, because I'm going to coat this whole thing anyway. Now I just want to make sure that this eye stays kind of, sorry about my hands, but kind of in the middle. I want the pupil kind of in the middle of the hook. It's kind of hard to judge right away, so I'm just going to hit it a bit, just for a second, make sure, yeah, that looked good. Because if you hit it for a second, it doesn't cure all the way, right? So again, don't worry if I got too much on, because it's all going to be used anyway. Just want to make sure that this is roughly lined up with the other one. Just gonna take a quick peek from the top. I think that looks pretty good. Let me take a look. Yeah, it looks not bad at all. So I'll zap that really quickly. It turned out not bad. It's the most finicky part, right? So, and now all it is just building up a nice little taper, right? You want that taper. So, and you don't want to put your resin all over you. Yeah, of course, the weed whacker dude is getting closer and closer, but hopefully it doesn't irritate you guys too much. But it is what it is. It's what you get when you live in a more of a residential area out here, because there's a lot of work going on in these places. It's kind of cool, you know. One corner you got a motorbike shop, next corner you've got a suspension joint. You know, it's kind of interesting. It's just everywhere. They just do it right out of their houses, and I think it's really cool. Okay, just another little tad more right here, just to even out that head. Come on. This bottle's almost empty too, so it's a little too much. Take some of that off. Start building that taper. I just wanted to finish that front of that head a bit, that's all. Yeah, now it's just once the head is done, it's actually fairly simple. It's now it's just adding a little layer, little layer, little layer, little layer, right? Yeah, this bottle's almost done, but every time I shake it, get a little bit more. And you want to taper this upwards to here, right? So I'm just gonna use the tip of the bottle here as a bit of a guide. Right? It's not going to be perfect the first time. You have to go over it a few times. So turn this over to the bottom side. Come on. You said, oh, and then it comes out like that because I pushed too hard. And just make sure that this will turn nice so you can kind of manipulate it with your vise. It'll just kind of flow the way you obviously always wants to go down. A little tiny bit more and we will be done. Just want to fill in some of these little pockets that I missed. Spread it around with the bodkin. Just let that kind of settle itself. Get into those little grooves. Now, it doesn't have to be absolutely perfect, guys. I will coat this once with Sally Hansen's as well. This is basically just an updated version of the old epoxy minnow, except not using epoxy. It doesn't have to go on a turner, right? With a bit of a twist. I mean, those living eyes are a little different, but it's basically it's what it is. It's a different version, a newer version of the epoxy minnow. So now when I'm using the Sallies is so thin it'll go into any of those little bumps and stuff that are left and fill those holes, right? And it'll coat it and make this thing absolutely indestructible. I don't care what kind of fish you're going after. The only thing that'll die on this is the tail, right? And yeah, that's the final fly. That's it, finished. So hope you guys like that one. It's a really good pattern. That tail just kind of gives it a little bit of that minnow movement. And yeah, if you want, you can put a little bit of red underneath, right just behind the eyes here, right about there. You can put a little bit of red dot or something. That'll just, for the egg sac. But yeah, alrighty. Hope you guys enjoyed that one. Fun to tie. Can tie a lot. I mean, I'm taking my time. Obviously, I can tie a lot in a short amount of time. Yeah, you can fire out quite a few of them, and like I said, they're fun to tie. Tie them, and if you're gonna do a wood duck color, do it a gold body or an antique gold, just to give it that consistency for color. Okay, so alrighty. Hope you guys enjoyed that one. Tie lines.